Hey guys, it's Miss Aguirre. I am here so that we can talk about the skeletal system today. I used to work in the medical field, and it's one of the things that I really enjoyed learning about when I was in school myself. And when I was in college, they made us learn every single bone in the body. And just so you know how many that is, there were 206 of them that we were responsible for knowing in order to be able to take care of patients in the hospital. So I today wanted to introduce you to my friend Mr. Bones here. He is going to help us because we have a puzzle that we're going to put together with all of the different parts of the body that you need to know in second grade. So I just wanted to introduce you, Mr. Bones. Shake hands. All right. And let's go over and get started on our puzzle. Right. So here, as you can see on the table, I have a bunch of bones scattered around, just like if I was an archaeologist out digging up bones. I might find these pieces and they're not going to be in any kind of order. We have to fix that. So that's what I need your help with today. We are going to try to put Mr. Bones' great-great-grandfather back together. I want you guys to help me, and we're going to go through it one at a time to make sure that we know what these pieces are. Are you ready? Does it look like a lot? Don't worry, we can do it. All right, I'm ready to get started. I've got all of my pieces here in front of me, and I'm hoping that you can see everything. We're going to try to build them up here so we can talk about it as we go. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, the first thing that I want to do, I'm looking at Mr. Bones here, and I know that he starts at the top with your head, right? So we want to start by finding the head on our puzzle. I see it right here. Here he is. We're going to start with this guy. Now, yes, this is a head, but because it's a bone, it would be called the skull. The skull is like the helmet of your body. When you think about the skull, it is to protect your brain. You want to take care of that because you use it every single day for everything that you do, whether it's waking up and yawning in the morning or if it's going to school and learning. You have to have your brain, and it's got to be protected by your skull. So that's why this is important. We're going to start with this. All right. The next thing, we're going to move down from our heads and we're going to go to our chest. Okay. Inside your chest, you have something very important. That very important thing is called your rib cage. Sometimes you get tickled on the side. You might feel some bones there. That is your rib cage. And your rib cage, let's find it here for Mr. Bones' great-great-grandfather. Your rib cage goes together with a left side and a right side, okay? And the rib cage is very important. It connects to the skull attaches to your neck, and the neck attaches to the skull, right? And that rib cage protects your heart, and it also protects your lungs. The heart is we'll call it the captain of your circulatory system. It's what pumps the blood around your body and spreads the nutrients and oxygen that you need. And then you also have the lungs that are protected by your rib cage. And that is how you take in air and expel air. So you take in all the good things that you need from the air, oxygen, and then you expel out when you breathe out. It's all that carbon dioxide, that you're breathing out. Your body doesn't need, so it just gets rid of it. So you say goodbye when you're breathing out all of that bad stuff. All right? And guess who likes that bad stuff? It's not bad to trees. When we learned about plants, remember, they like to take in that carbon dioxide, and they expel back out, breathe back out oxygen, which is what we take in. So that's why it's so good to have green stuff around you, plants around you. It helps you to be able to breathe clean air. All right, so we've got our skull, we have our rib cage, and then we're going to move down the body to our hips. And our hips are important because that's what allows us to twist and turn and to move our legs around. all right? Those are very important. We've got to have those so that we can do a lot of the things we like to do in PE and at recess, or even just bending at the hips so you can sit in your chair. You've got to have those hips, all right? So that's going to be our next part. And there is a left and a right side to your hip bones as well. And they go together here and attached to great-great-grandfather. There you go. What are you thinking so far, Mr. Bones? He's starting to look a little bit more recognizable? I think he agrees. I think we're doing pretty good. The next thing when you move down your body is if you go from your hips, you're going to go down into your legs, right? You got your legs next. So we've got to find Mr. Bones' legs. If you can see this guy, it is a leg, and it's actually attached to a piece of the hip bone. And that is called a joint. When your bones come together, it's at a joint. It's a spot where it can rotate and move so that you can still bend and function the way that you're used to moving. All right, so the leg bone is attached to the hip at a joint. Okay, same thing on the other side. We're going to connect the leg bone at the hip joint. Got it? Those are some pretty short legs. I think he's missing something. Your leg has two parts. It's not just the upper part of your leg. You also have something that's connected here at the knee that goes down for the second part of your leg. So we need that part in order to finish his legs. I see a knee, so I think this is a good one. We're going to try this out, and it fits perfectly right there. So now he's got longer legs. You can see that. We're working on it, working our way down. We need the other knee, which is over here, if you can see it. We're going to connect that so that he can bend and jump rope and sit down at a desk if he wants to, right? There's one more piece that we're missing at the bottom. What is it? What's connected to the bottom of your legs? It's your feet. You gotta have your feet. Your feet are what allow you to be able to stand. If you didn't have your feet, you would not be able to stand. All right? They are very, very important. And something else that's kind of cool, if you didn't have your toes, that's what helps you balance. So when you're looking at your feet, all your toes, if your toes were missing, you might not be able to stand up as straight. You'd have to work really hard to learn how to stand and balance without those guys. So you need your toes too. So there's our feet. We're not done yet, but let's just go over what we do have. So let's come back up here. Mr. Bones, I see a skull. Then we got a rib cage. The skull protects the brain. Then I come down here to the rib cage, which protects my heart and my lungs. Then I'm going to come down to my hip bones, which are connected to my leg bones at a joint, the hip joint. Come down to the second part of my leg, and that's where my feet are connected, right? So far, we have a really good part connected, but we're not done. We're missing some stuff, some pretty important stuff. Now we need to move on to the upper extremities. These are your arms, right? Gotta have those. Do some cool stuff. Maybe some ninja moves, right? Gotta have arms, and arms are connected at another joint. It's your shoulder joint. So here, if you put your hand on your shoulder and you move around, you can feel those bones moving inside that joint. All right? Let's go ahead and connect his arms on here. And just like your legs, you also have this, don't you? This is your elbow. So you have the upper part of your arm that connects to the bottom part of your arm at your elbow. So guess what your elbow is? Do you remember? It's a joint, right? So you have a joint in your hips, you have a joint in your knees, you have a joint in your elbow. Those are just 3 of them. There's lots of them. So we need to connect the other part of the arm. I'm going to do that now so we can make his arms longer. And then at the very end of each one, you got to have your hands. We use these every day for cooking and cleaning and for writing and for talking. I know I like to use my hands when I tell stories so that people can get a better idea of what I'm talking about, right? So I'm going to connect his hands. He's got to have those to be whole. There you go. We did it. I told you we could, right? Mr. Bones, your great-great-grandfather is put back together. I hope you're happy. Thank you for helping, and he was supervising the whole time, right? Couldn't have done it without the kiddos. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here with us, and I am going to walk back over to my desk because there's a couple other things I want to share with you, but we finished our puzzle, and I needed all of the help from you. Okay, I'm back at my desk. I bent at the hip, and I'm sitting in my chair, and I am ready to use my brain, which my skull is protecting for me, to talk about our standard. This is the standard that we covered today. It is, I can distinguish human body parts, the brain, heart, lungs, stomach, muscles, and skeleton, and their basic functions. Today's focus was the skeletal system. We know how to identify the different pieces of the skeletal system now. You have your skull, you have your rib cage, you have your arms, you have your legs, your feet, and your hands. If you can remember all of those, then you are doing your part to know the parts of the body for second grade. That's great. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about with you before we get started or finish for today is what you're called because you have a skeletal system. Because you have bones in your body, the special name is vertebrae. Vertebrate. All right. A vertebrate is someone or something that has bones in their body that give them structure to be able to move around and do the things that they need to do. If you did not have any bones in your body, which there are some creatures in this world that don't have bones in their body, they just have cartilage that help them to go with the muscles and move around and do what they need to do. Those are called invertebrates. An example of an invertebrate, now that you know that a human is a vertebrate, would be a jellyfish. That's a good one. All right. Some in the ocean that you might, look into. There's some that live in the ocean. So if you get a chance, it would be really fun to hear from you about some different vertebrates that you know of and some invertebrates that you have looked up and learned about. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with me, and I hope you learned a lot about our skeletal system. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.